What is good, everybody? Thank you for being here. It is episode 12 tonight, and this is AV Educate. You're only as good as the crew. Tonight, we got a good one for you. I'm actually very excited to bring this one to you. So, thank you guys for coming back. We've been doing these for 12 now. The overwhelming response you guys have given us has been amazing. Without you guys giving us the feedback that we need, the creator right here that just posted himself, Omar Cologne, would not be able to put this together and give you the information you guys are looking for. Okay, so just keep it rolling. Me, the voice behind all this right now, I'm the IT guy. You probably can't see me, but I'm the goofball, the jackass, the goof off, whatever you want to call it. But I'm the IT guy behind all this. Ed, the brains over here. No, that Ed's normally our co-host tonight. We're gonna have Nate taking it over. Nat, I knew I was gonna butcher it, but it's all good. We're gonna have Nat take it over for tonight while he's a little busy. So thank you guys again. Nat, thank you for being here. Tonight, our presenter is going to be Felix Pike. As the show states, it is the art of Showcraft. He's going to go through and explain to us everything you want to talk to a technical director, to your people about, to your clients about everything. So this is going to be an interesting one for you guys. And remember, no stupid question is a stupid question. I'll jump on that first. This is going to change. We usually are live every Monday night, but we are going to be moving to Sunday. So remember that for an interim time. If we feel that it is going to be more beneficial and a lot more people and more participation comes from the Sunday shows, we might stick it to a Sunday show, but we'll figure out when it comes from there. If you want to get involved in a Zoom, go ahead and text that number there. You want to have a topic you want to talk about, you want to get involved in the panel and the conversation, by all means, go ahead and hit that and text it. Due to the nature of streaming, questions that are asked, we do our best to answer as quickly as possible. There will be short Q&A sections, so we'll talk, do some Q&A, talk again, and then before we wrap it up, we'll ask any questions that didn't get answered. So we do try to hit everybody's questions in the meantime of doing this. We are not the sharpest tools in the shed. I say that jokingly, of course. We are skills at our own trades and our own crafts. We know what we know, but we don't know everything, and that's where we rely on you to help us with information that you might have learned over the years that we've not done before. Whole session is a Q&A, so at any time you throw a question up, we'll be right there to get it back for you and give you the information as quick as possible. And shameless plug, please follow YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, everything for AV Educate. We are working on doing some things with going to other platforms and streaming to other platforms, so you want to get on those and you want to pay attention to those. Don't know how to find them? Message AV Educate, we'll figure it out. And that is it. Omar, do you have anything to say?
Sorry about that. I muted myself like always. So I don't have much to say. I hope you guys liked our new introduction between Nate and Ed. That was definitely planned out. Not too much, but it was planned out a little bit here. I'm going to leave the floor actually to Ed, who's here for a little brief second while he's got a moment to speak to us. And I'll let you jump over to Nat, and then I'll let Felix take over the show and kind of talk to us through all this amazing stuff that I think you guys are going to definitely use in your careers moving forward more than anything else that we've taught you so far, since this is the things you need to do as a personal self, as personal growth, that you need to grow into this industry and to be that go-to tech, that go-to guy that stays with that client because they like working with you constantly day in and day out, because you have the information of what they're expecting from you, not just from as a technical perspective, but also from an engineer's perspective of what they want to see for their clients and to work with themselves on the show. So again, I'll let Ed kind of jump in here real quick because I know you got unlimited time, and then I'll let Nate take over and I'll do what I always do and I'll stop talking.
Hey everybody, thanks for letting me jump in here real quick. I'm on a job site, so I'm on my dinner break at the moment, sitting in my car, about to eat some dinner, but I wanted to make sure that I came in, said hello. I want to thank Nat again for helping us out with co-hosting duties tonight, and thank Felix for coming by. This is going to be a great talk. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss it, but I'm going to make sure I watch it on the replay because this seems very interesting. And thank you to the panel. Hope you guys have your questions ready and keep them coming. And then Facebook, please send questions now so that as the talk goes on, we have stuff to discuss. So great. And Chris said,
I promise I will do the best I can to switch as good as Ed does. I am an amateur when it comes to switching video, unlike these professionals that are sitting here. So I will do my best.
All good, Chris. All good. We have faith in you. As Chris mentioned earlier, next week we're going to be here on Sunday. That's going to be the 27th. So these guys will tell you all about that later, what the show is that's coming up. It's a really cool one that I'm excited for. But yeah, thanks guys. I'm gonna have to head out so that I have a minute to eat before I got to get back inside. But thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next Sunday. Have a great show.
Bye,
Thanks,
Ed.
Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, Ed. Okay, Ed's gone.
Okay, new
I'm
Ed.
Ed now.
New Ed.
Okay. So I'm Nat. I'm just jumping in to help out tonight. I'm a friend of Ed's and now a friend of everyone here at AV Educate. I'm really honored to have. I did a companion and Stream Deck talk in the past, and I'm really excited to be here
Which,
tonight.
by the way,
on
to
Facebook
date is still our most popular talk that we've done. Just so everybody knows.
Only with a female demographic, though. Really, I promise. Not that knowledgeable. I have a lot of video experience. Before I was doing video and AV, I was an actor. I'm very excited to hear about Felix's perspective on interacting with a client, because to me, from all of my experience in the different jobs I've had, that is the core of putting on a good show. You need to know what their expectation is and then see how you fit into that, and then try to convince your boss to let you do those things. So I'm going to try to keep an eye on the Facebook chat tonight. If you have questions for our guest Felix, please, or any of us on the panel, please ask them. If you want to share some of your experiences as things trigger your memories, you want to share what you've been through, some of the jobs you've been on, some of your war stories, please put them in the chat on our video tonight and we'll get them out on the air. So thanks, guys. All right, so I think with that, we should go ahead and throw it to Felix. Felix has a great show lined up for us tonight. He's going to tell us a little bit about himself, and then he's going to take us into the art of Showcraft.
Thank you so much, Nat, and thank you, thank you, Omar, for having me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Felix, and I'm thrilled to be on panel with AV Educate on this stormy, wet Monday evening here in Miami. Okay, due to this now, well, let's face it, excruciatingly extended pandemic that's brought most of our industry to a standstill, it's of course crucial now that we remain vigilant. We remain vigilant and must remain vigilant. We need to stay sharp. We need to freshen up our skills, which is what I love about the AV Educate platform. We need to learn new ones, master new technology, and sometimes even perhaps take a step back from the console and take a look around, which is what we're going to do today. Which is why in my discussion recently with Omar a few weeks ago, we both agreed that after years of working together on and off, and often in the weeds, may I add, that it's rare we actually stop and look at the big picture. Sorry for that, like Seinfeld-esque inflection, but yeah, Omar's like, yeah, man, I'm always buried in sub-menus of a console or a processor. Let's just talk some show. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. So he invited me to speak tonight, which I'm very grateful for. Thank you, young Jedi, and let's do this. Okay, as you can see, we're still on red alert here. Many of us working with the Events Coalition and WeMakeEvents.org, a lot of our local chapter here in Miami. There's a number of events organizations I've been involved in recently that are doing good things. And there's also the opportunity, like I said, I just wanted to take a moment to let you know, you can contact senators directly. I have Jason Bezos' email. He's my senator for my district here in Miami Beach. And I've been very, very vocal about how I feel about where we're at in the industry. And he's been really responsive. And I've had his secretary contact me back. I had him send me his personal email and said, send me any issues or difficulties you're having with the PUA, the extension of which, all of us, I'm pretty certain, are for. And not to delve into that area too much, but like I said, we are, on red alert. We're maintaining our very industry and our very livelihoods. And, we've all got so many years invested in what we do. Almost anyone can get a job, right? But not everyone can forge a career. It's two very different things. Like when I went to see Chris Rock perform live, and I'll try and avoid any profanity, but he said, you got a job or you got a career, right? He's like, you got a job? You're always checking your watch. What time you got? 9:15? I got 9:16. What time? How long we been here? God damn it. In a career, there ain't enough hours in the day, is what Chris Rock used to say. So when I heard that, I was like, I was at a comedy festival. I felt like I was in church. But not everyone can forge a career. And those of us that are fortunate, blessed, however you feel about it, are to be in this position, to have a career in our business. You know, we need to, make our voices heard, like not just like on Facebook is great, social media is great, awareness is great. But like I said, I want to just go back to and like, look it up, senators.org/, your location, and you can get in touch with your senator and discuss this stuff directly. So, but no, not to take back anything from all the amazing coalitions and organizations around the world right now, particularly #WeMakeEvents is blew me away with the uplighting of all the buildings in red and the red alert. Yeah, big ups for that, big props. That really was inspiring. And that's what we're going to talk about here today, Showcraft and inspiration. And knowing that, guess what? You are leaned on creatively in what you do. You're not just, no one is just a technician or just a project manager or just a video engineer or, we're being leaned upon now. Not every client hires a flashy creative agency to put together all their branded content and slides, and sometimes it befalls on us to sequence that and put that into a show-like format. So that's what I talk about today is Showcraft. Homer, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to add to that, guys. I'm not sure everybody's aware of this, and I don't boast about it too much, and I try not to speak about it. I'm one of the co-founders of the Live Events Coalition. I just shared a link to that. If you guys want to learn more about who to contact within the Live Events Coalition, we are in every state in the U.S. We have almost every state. We have 48 out of the 50. If you want to contact me, you can contact me, and I'll put you to the right people. Bonnie Fiana is down here. AV Cafe is her company. She's down for the South Florida region. Central Florida has a couple different admins in that area. I don't know New York top of my head right now, but New York, you also have a Live Events Coalition. You can find them on Facebook through their groups. We have groups on every page for every major city. You guys can find them there, and there's links to the contacts of what Felix was just talking about to you guys right now. I just wanted to throw that out there real quick to also emphasize what they're doing for the community, and that Felix is right. The LAC is doing a lot to help you guys out. If you guys want to get involved, either hit me up and I'll send you to the right person, or go check out Live Events Coalition at your state, and I guarantee there's one in almost every state right now. So that's all I have to say.
Add something here real quick. The majority of anyone that's listening right now, anyone is considered an ace. The majority of us have something else going on and stuff. So usually we're not working for that other company. That other company usually hires us to come in and fix their problems. But at the same time, what he's saying right there is it's all about the connection of what we're all about. I hand off jobs all the time to people, never suspect any money back or anything, maybe a steak dinner or some shit, but that's about as far as it goes. It's all about us hooking out each other and, stop allowing the big companies to take the money away from the small guys. We are able to invest into the time, unlike the big companies, because the big companies, you're just a number. You're just another client. The small guys are the guys that our livelihood. So this gig could be my last, so I want to make sure my gig is the best I could possibly do for you. So with that in mind, anyone that's outside of the circle listening to this, that's your game. If you want to become a professional at what you do, it's not about being a Swiss Army knife. It's about picking something out that you're very good at. All right. Usually when people say, oh, I do this, I do that, I totally disregard them all of a sudden, because you haven't been along enough to realize you need to have this as your specialty. Not to say you don't do the other things, but there's certain elements that will progress you, make you bigger and better. Working for producers like Felix and all those type of guys. And that's what they're looking for. Those guys are looking for somebody that shines outside the box. It doesn't matter if they're working for the union or whatever else. those guys.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. And what you're talking about is completely
real quick, Felix, before you go on. Chris, you're new to the panel, so I would like you to introduce yourself to everybody on AV Educate. And Chris came in with Felix today. It's one of Felix's friends that joined in on the conversation on this, but I'd like to let him introduce himself a little bit so that way you understand who you're talking to and you're not, no offense to anybody here, I'm the Joe Schmo when it comes to anything AV related. I'm just the lonely IT guy down here in my personal opinion.
That's perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I should jump on that.
Chris, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
I'm Chris Patterson. Most times on show site, people will call me Crispy. It's just my road name. That's what I rolled with for many years. But I'm a video guy, but I have became an ace at projection and LED. So I'm in the top crescent, probably in the US, of the top 10 percentile of who you want to ask, how this is done. In my field, there's very few true freelancers. Now, don't get me wrong, there's aces in many different companies. I idol myself. But they've earned that respect and they're knee deep in that company, you know. But if you look in the free market, the freelance market, it's very hard to become an ace in the freelance market. But when you do, it's something you got to keep on rolling on and keep moving with, because it is one of those things that will put cars in your driveway. It'll keep you from going bankruptcy, and the phone keeps ringing. If you're like anyone else, the phone's not going to ring for you. You got to find something that makes you special. And that's my piece of the tea right there, you want to say. But yes, I'm an LED guy, projectionist. I've owned my own production company for many years. I've done big productions all the way down to the small guy. You know, me and Felix worked out probably about 10 years ago. He was the guy calling the show that I worked for, and me and him like totally clicked right off the bat. You know, that's what it's all about. It's finding people that you can interact with, even though you might not agree with them, but everyone's having a great time. It's just like being on a tour. You might be the best guy in the world, but if you're a complete ass, you're not going to make it on it. I mean, the guy that really sucks, he's the guy that's going to make it on it because he's that easy going. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of guys that have earned their kudos, as in being, say, an ass or a white glover or whatever, that type of thing. And I respect those guys. I do. Because it's rare for me now to be able to learn from somebody that knew more than what was going on. You know, usually I'm in the room, all of a sudden all the questions come to me, so I have no one to turn to myself, going like, you're a bigger ace than I am, or whatever. It's always a give and take situation in the room and trying to figure out the right angle with the least amount of push to get to your end outcome. And that's where I'll leave it with that.
I appreciate that. Thank you, man.
That's awesome. Thanks, Pat. Crispy, that leads directly pretty much into what my next portion of what I was going to discuss, which is what is our Showcraft? What is Showcraft? For me personally, it's a good way of describing how well-rounded an understanding of just about everything that goes into producing or contributing to a show can be. It's a big bucket. From interpreting the CAD to getting 7 semis in and out of a small loading dock in 3 hours to interpreting needs of the crew and best practices of the safety and building sets through to professionally delivering content, rehearsals, show management, client digital assets, our general behavior before and after a show and our capacity to meet and exceed client expectations. So yeah, that's, to me, what we're talking about today is the big picture. Sometimes it doesn't seem apparent until the end of the show, until you're tearing it all down. So this session is about further developing, I think, everyone's, innate capability of being able to have the big picture in the foreground, along with your immediate tasks. But don't get me wrong, everyone's technical skills and skill sets are important, and what defines you as an engineer a designer, a professional stagehand or technician. It's primarily why you're being hired. You're good at what you do, and you're enjoyable to be around, as Chris was just speaking to, for 5 days straight in a dark hole behind the drapes somewhere. You know, you want to be able to get on with those guys as much as be able to appreciate their technical skill and their prowess. So that's a little big picture, pardon the pun, little big picture comment I'd like to start with. So also, if you're interested in advancing into a leadership role in production, as a PM, as a TD, as a show caller, as a stage designer, and even one day a producer, I'm hoping that this week's program is going to be a benefit. And if that's not your goal, that's cool too. It's all about getting, giving. I'd like to give as much of a detailed understanding of how a producer thinks or a client thinks, and how to manage their expectations. And I think that'll be advantageous to discuss more at length. A little bit of background about myself, just real quick. As many of you probably worked out by now, I am from the very deep South. I grew up in Sydney, Australia. I come from a family of musicians, artists, technicians, and explorers. My father being a merchant Navy officer. I left college with a Bachelor of Arts, BA, majoring in history and fine arts, and I had no idea what I really wanted to do with my life. But it was a good foundation. It gave me depth and understanding of humanity. But it qualified me for almost everything and nothing at the same time. I went to school, I toured bands, and then I did an audio engineering diploma after I finished college, the very next semester, because I was passionate about music and live performance. It's one of the greatest, not the greatest humanity. I worked in clubs. I learned how to DJ. I had mixed bands in the late 90s, and I'd be a reasonable front of house guy. A lot of sound pressure level for local indie bands. And back then, I'm aging myself now, CDs were the highest selling form of media then. Then DVDs, then video games. It's all back to front now. Vinyl has resurged over all its formats, particularly. But damn, I just aged myself. Anyway, the music industry and touring was still booming despite the inevitable step towards digital transformation. I went from being a booker, front of house guy, and tour manager, and then to an entertainment director, to like corporate AV guy. My first gig after marrying a beautiful girl from Detroit that I met in Sydney, my lovely wife Laura. I got a green card, moved to Los Angeles, and from there I was. My first job was with AVHQ, which some of you may know is what was before presentation services. And it was morphing into PSAV when I worked for them at the time in Los Angeles at the Ritz-Carlton Pasadena, which I will touch a little later on as well, because I learned a lot about generally working with people and others, and how to, be a champion in life, per se, through their philosophies and what they call a credo. More on that soon. But my background ultimately went from that into an audio-visual guy, an AV guy, a director, salesperson, to now running my own production resources company here in Miami. It's dedicated to meetings, special events, brand activations. We do virtual cooking and live mixology demonstrations, because my wife is an absolute genius in the kitchen and behind the bar, which again, poor me. Life is tough sometimes. So back then, whether I was in a band or behind turntables or booking and marketing tours, meetings or events, I had an insatiable need to demonstrate my creativity and utilize it all the time. And often, as we'll get to, in crunch time scenarios is when creativity really seems to soar. So in terms of tapping into our creativity, this session will be, we're leaning more towards a philosophical discussion, if it were, than a technical review of new equipment on the market. So, Omar, can we just throw up the creative process slide, please? This is my first slide. I'm very excited. There's my bio, which we can catch on later, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's right in, yeah. So, yeah, welcome to the creative process. If you've never seen this before, this is the most bang-on description of such, beyond any Venn diagram, beyond any study, beyond any other proven or documented measure. This is the creative process in a nutshell, okay? The part that's particularly of interest is the green section, or the work while crying. This is what we have to deal with as technicians. And this is what producers have to deal with when their clients decide to do a complete freaking 180 on them on the second day of show. And all the content has to be reorganized, relabeled, restated. Speakers are moved around. Cue lists changed. It's a complete nightmare. It's a horror story beyond anyone's, till that point, recognition. But I wanted to throw this up because it lends to who we are and yet who we deal with as clients as well. So we have to put ourselves in their shoes that they were finishing that deck last night while crying at 3 a.m. In their hotel room by themselves, possibly half a bottle of whiskey, and there we are. And they have to be on bright and sparky at 7 a.m. for crew call. So we can take that down now on my, yeah. So in terms of the creative process, and how we apply it to what we do day in, day out in audio, visual, and technology. Again, a little more philosophy. Inspiration, to me, it comes. It doesn't, it's not forced. It's nurtured. And yes, I'm.
I just wanted to dive in before we get too ahead of it here. You had said right now when we showed that video about the text kind of crying and being complacent. I want to dive into that a little bit and have guys realize that, you know, when you're getting hired and you're working with a producer like Felix here, you're on the show because you're expected to know what to do in these moments. That's what you're being hired for. You're not there to say, oh, I didn't get what I wanted, or I don't have the right stuff. You're getting hired because what's there needs to work for what you want to happen for the client to get the show that they want. Like that needs to be, I want to kind of emphasize that a little bit. And I don't want to get too far ahead and not emphasize that. When we as techs get hired, the client is hired because we have a skill set to not only please their client, but to make what they have brought to the show site work for what they need to work for the end client, not for what you need to work with how you work, but what needs to happen for this show to happen correctly live in front of their audience. I just want to touch on that a little bit, make sure that no one missed that part there that we said real quick that I think is huge in our industry. That, you know, I know we have some white glovers and we have guys that are learning stuff and they don't think about these things and they have their methods and their methodologies. But and the reality is when you get to these upper echelon levels and you get to these producer levels, the idea is that you're being hired because you can make the show happen, not because you're going to sit there and complain about stuff. And I saw Jason, your hands up, so I'm done. I'll let you go from there, brother.
I just want to, throw into the point that you just made. That's what sets people apart from each other, because some techs will bring their case full of what they know that they'll need if it isn't there already, so that they can get the job done for Felix or whoever the producer is, no matter what, just in case it doesn't come, No,
that's absolutely correct. And like Crispy touched on before, you could be the most knowledgeable and most experienced technician in the tri-state area at the time. But if there's someone that's slightly less skilled but can get the job done, who's way easier to work with, the producer is going to pick the other guy, not the know-it-all, I am it, I got you, I da-da-da-da, and talks a lot. That may well be the case, and they probably are very good at what they do, if not the best. But again, who do you want to be there with 5 days, like I said, behind the drape with? The guy you can have a laugh with and enjoy their company and know that they're going to perform within their capabilities, and to deal with that client that walks in behind the shoulder and alerts you and has your back. And all those things about, again, this is more big picture stuff. I'm talking about, like, client on headsets, COH, so on and so forth. We're going to get deeper into that, but
it's no different. It's no different, and everybody knows me here. I am not the biggest Mac fan in the world, but if you put me on a show and tell me I have to use those Mac computers, guess what I'm using? Using the Mac computers.
Right.
It's plain simple.
And I have a little story that leads right into that, and then I'm going to ask people to start jumping in with their own, no doubt, amazing stories of shows that were rolling downhill way fast. And 3 or 4 individuals got together and said, what are the options, and created magic. I've got one for you from years ago. And I was with at the time, with one of the bigger hotel AV companies. And budgets being what they may at the time, we had a show which ended up with, 2 cameras, this, that, and the other, and a fulsome presentation pro. So didn't have a lot of firepower to deal with in terms of a fluid switch, particularly as the corporate show morphed into a fashion show, right? And you've got runway, and there's suddenly 3 camera guys that want to, hey, where do we patch in? And no one's discussed this. There's been no pre-production at any level talked about here. And suddenly you are Johnny on the spot dealing with this. And then as the girls hit the runway, the video switcher hits to switch cameras or back to graphics. What happens on a Fulsom Press Pro? Right, there's that nearly 0.8 second freeze before it actually switches. There's no fluidity. There's nothing in the engine of that machine that gives the fluidity to give you that kind of switch. So the producer starts complaining. Why is it stopping like that? I'm like, I look at the LD, he looks at me, and I go, he's concerned that every time we switch video, he gets this overexposed like blur and it freezes. And he's like, yeah, on that last switch, the camera guy kind of pointed slightly up right into a park hand, and it got this exploded kind of overexposed look. And I looked at the LD and I said, every time I call a switch, bump the lights. Give him a good bump, the whole rig. He's like, what? Bump the whole rig whenever I call the next switch. Sure enough, girl comes out to the runway, she turns, next one comes out, the music changes, and go. And as the bump happened, it was like this full MTV like freeze frame thing that then went fluidly to the next shot. And suddenly the producer's like, oh, I love it. The show's back on, and we were literally working with, like, that was a MacGyver job. That was like a toothbrush, a rubber band, and a piece of chewing gum to make that happen. And we did. So I am going to throw it now to the floor, and I would love to hear from Jason or Justin. Justin, you got a story where you had to get real creative with gear and stuff on a gig, not to put anyone on the spot, but or anyone out there, throw your hand up. You got something you want to put out there as a war story that something like that occurred? I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, Jason, if you got one, go ahead and jump in, buddy.
All right, so I was on a gig in Miami, and we were at a hotel, and we had Blackmagic switcher I was using. Our entire signal flow was 1080p. Everything was 1080p. We had HyperDecks for our records, which are 1080i. We didn't have any equipment because all of the equipment that we had used was gone. Everything was out. So I'm calling the guy who was bringing equipment to me. I told him, look, this is the problem, blah, 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 blah. He brought me Key Pros. Now, I had already been there till 2 a.m. trying to get this done with the client. We were figuring it all out. It was good. They told me they were going to bring me something, and it ended up being a Key Pro. We had no way to get it back. So what I did was the only thing that we were actually recording were their slide decks. So I talked to the individual that had all the decks and said, listen, I'm going to get the records. Can you give me the slide decks? He said he could. I recorded my multi-view into the HyperDecks because that's 1080i automatically. I had everything multi-view, and when I left each night, I took the slide decks and laid them deck or slide by slide by slide into the place that needed to fit through Premiere Pro, rented them out, and was able to turn them back over to him the following day. So we made it work. The client was very happy. The demos went off flawlessly, but that was when I learned if I don't bring it, it's probably not going to be there. And I started filling up my tech kit full of decimators or whatever I needed to get what I needed to go where it needed to go.
Chaos makes money.
Yeah.
Jason, I can
Why
tell you
is
that from my experience, 90% of video problems, when they get to the last second and you panic, first thing you should ask yourself, 1080i?
Yeah.
That's probably where a lot of the problems happen.
Exactly.
Why is it that every great story everybody in this group has ever told always starts with down in Miami? Is it just me? It just seems like every time we listen, like I said, I've never been on a show except for what I did and helped out with OPAV on. That's it. I'm trying to work my way into the AV industry. I am an IT guy. I'm an IT engineer. I'm a stream engineer. I can do all the behind the scenes work. I'm working my way into video and stuff like that. But it seems like every time you guys talk about something, it's, down in Miami. It's like, excuse me? Is it really that bad? I'm sorry.
In Miami,
culturally.
In Miami's defense, it was an all Orlando crew. We all went down there to work at this place together. So
You're not
I
wrong.
will defend Miami on this one. Yeah.
The thing is, Chris, you have cities like that. You also you have venues like that. There are places in New York, there are hotels that one guy says, I was at such and such a place, and everybody just puts their heads in their hands and just like, oh no, I'm so sorry you were there. We got another one from Dave.
I'm from Miami, so I'm just making an open joke on it. But seriously, it's like every time we talk about something, it's like, we were doing a show down in Miami. It's like, what?
Well, Artie, it's like when I got the phone call from Swank Tech Services back in the day to basically pick me up and my wife and uproot me from LA and move me to Miami. Because we really need some help down there, is all I can say. And I was like, what am I walking into here?
Dave, you had an experience you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I've got a few stories from Miami as well as other places. One company I worked for, they took a big dually pickup truck with a trailer down to Miami. And the day of load in, they found it on fire at a state park. All they had left was the license plate. And then my first show with them, I flew into Fort Lauderdale, and when I landed, the PM called me up and said, the truck got stolen. Can you meet us? Can you take a cab over to another AV company in town and pick out all new gear out of his shop? He was very generous and just opened up his doors and said, whatever you guys need, here's my truck. And we got through pulling all the gear and throwing in the truck, and they looked around and said, who's going to drive the truck to the venue? Because he didn't have any staff to drive the truck. So they handed me the keys to the truck, and I drove this guy's truck. He just let our company have the truck for the day. That shows some of the camaraderie among companies, when the show must go on and they know. And it ended up being, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that we threw that company over the years because he bailed us out that one time. One of the story that was kind of most unique was a recent show I did in Quebec, and the LED tech didn't get a work visa. So, none of the crew got work visas, but we knew to say we were tourists or whatnot. And he gets into the airport and gets pulled with all of his tools, and they ask him, and he goes, I'm here for work, blah, blah, blah. And so they went through his phone and flagged every single person on the emails in his phone and pulled 2 or 3 other people, our PowerPoint op, our A1, and turned them right around and sent them home. So our E2 op had to become our A1. I had to go from the camera switch up to the E2. We had to fly in another PowerPoint guy into Toronto and have him drive up, or Montreal, I forget. And that was an interesting week.
Thank you, sir. Omar.
So I just want to throw in there real quick. AV Educated is based out of Miami, guys. So please don't take that too negatively.
Yes, that's why I said it was all a joke. I'm from Miami, and the truck catching on fire is the most Miami thing you'll ever hear about. It just all of a sudden the truck burst into flames. Well, how did that happen? Welcome to Miami.
Yeah. Anyone else got an interesting? I want to hear about a creative solution to a crazy problem. That's where it really, because what I want to talk about more today is like that graph shows, all the work done at the end while crying. It seems when the pressure's really applied, is when we get most creative and quickly. When the right side of the brain just seems to activate and go into a fight or flight mode, as they say in psychology. And we're suddenly trying to connect every dot we can and quickly to make sure it's some sort of viable solution. Omar's got his hand up again.
Yeah, so I'll give you guys a story here real quick, and I'll try to speak up. I know my mics are having some problems here, but I was in a show in Key West, so past Miami, and I had an analog wave Pulse 2 switcher, and we were doing 2 screens and DSMs, and I was maxing out that one, and we had to add last minute between, I guess it was like paid to participants for the internal, and people that showed up who weren't paid were allowed to be there in like another room. We had to send monitors out, so I had to essentially use the backup Pulse 2 as like a matrix switcher to feed in my primary into my secondary, so I could send out certain content to that other room for the content they needed versus what we needed to see in this room. So what ended up happening is all the camera feeds of the presenters went to the other room, but none of the PowerPoints or the information went into that room. And I ended up having to use both the Pulse primary and now the secondary they brought, just in case anything happens. They had it there. I ended up using that in the mix as like a matrix switcher because there was no other solution on site. So we kind of put those two together, created what I call a ghetto matrix, and made the show work. So we had 3 screens, 2 DA'd, 1 separate, all on its own channels, and then 1 going out on matrix out from that to the DSMs. And then out of that other one, I had a DA going to that back into the second switcher, which then took in some of my feeds to go all the way to the other room. I had DA'd each one of my video coming in from my CCUs, my 3 cameras. I had DA'd those from the CCU itself. So essentially output 1 came into one switcher, output 2 to another switcher. And I used that so I could switch between my stored logos and some of the size that we were allowed to share and the cameras from one room to another. I had no control or view of my other room. So I was doing everything visually based off what the switcher was telling me. But that's a scenario for this where I had to ghetto rig what I had to make it work for what the client needed, which was like kind of an add-on change last minute. And I have tons of those, but that's the one where I was just like, I'm glad you have this other one here because it'll make it somewhat easier for me other than doing what I think I need to do.
Right on. Dave, no.
Yeah, I was doing one in San Diego. We'll skip to the other coast. And brand new big production switcher, and the switcher op was trying to play with macros. And every time he ran this macro, it locked it up because he has switching 3 screens at once. And I told him, no matter what you do, don't run the macro in show. And he's like, I've run it 6 times. It doesn't freeze now. I've got it figured out. So I wired in a Blackmagic television studio just into the router, just the original single rack mount one, 4 in, 1 out. And I had it sitting there just in case. And sure enough, the opening video rolls. Coming out of that video, he hits this macro that he came up with that I told him not to use. Freezes, locks up the switcher. So real quickly, I pulled out the touch panel, hooked it up to the logged into the Blackmagic, and handed it to him. And I hit a router salvo, and it switched over the 3 cameras and the PowerPoint machine, the primary PowerPoint machine, to the main screen outputs, and said, you get to switch the rest of this 1 hour and a half show with this touchscreen laptop through a Blackmagic TV studio because you locked up the switcher while we reboot it. So something like that.
Doing it live. Yeah. It's an old saying we had from one of the last production companies I worked for, inspired by that great TV compere, Mr. O'Reilly. Okay, we'll do it live. So, in terms of, Hemingway said courage can be described as grace under pressure, quite simply. And what helps in those scenarios is, this is going to be a little like, again, philosophical mental exercise, if you would indulge me, because I think this is going to be relative to everyone. Thinking laterally, taking the blinders off and considering not what is just directly in front of you or behind or what just happened, but thinking laterally. An anonymous quote, an idea has friends and relatives. Okay, so if you think of it that way, think of it, this is the philosophical model to help you in day-to-day kind of scenarios and in like full-on, nail-biting technical situations. When you're asked to describe or build a scene for a film, you know, creative people know how to build laterally on an idea. So the idea is a car. Well, what model is the car? What color is the car? What's the interior? Who's sitting in the car? What are they talking about? What's the weather like? What's on the radio? Okay, is it a city road? Is it a country road? Are there hills? Are there mountainside? Are they driving through a flat suburban neighborhood? You know, what's the weather like? You know, music playing. Is there irony involved? These are all the way I think about piecing together content and show programming when I'm working closely with a client, and then turning to guys like yourself and translating, the vision that they want, and designing staging and audio-visual technology that accompanies that vision. And in terms of creative exercises you can do, I think, to become more, calm and premeditative in those situations, listen to more music. Use headphones, sit on a couch and listen to some really well-recorded piece of music. It's a really lost art form, and I guarantee you it'll refresh like the way you conceive and think of things, because we're such a society now built on visual information overload. It's like that old Lewis Black routine. Like when I'm watching the news channel, the ticker down here, and the weather's here, and this guy's here, and I don't know what's going on. No wonder we've all got ADHD. You know, 24 hours of news, no one can get it right in 2 minutes. You know, so again, a little meditative exercise is I do is often listen to music on the couch with headphones on. It's old school, but it's a transformative experience. And watch
Felix, if I could just jump in there, I've noticed over the course of this whole lockdown, this time at home, I've tried to take myself away from the screen, take myself away from social media, put a little screen limiting on my time. And I do find that I'm able to read more, I'm able to focus on my work more, and just kind of keep my thoughts in a linear, direct, creative fashion. And I find that all of the notifications and the endless scrolling is, like you say, it just keeps my mind cluttered.
Absolutely. And, you know, my wife has introduced me to a lot of meditation apps and stuff we do at night, which are great. I'm asleep by the end of the damn thing. My wife's like, how do you feel? I'm like, I'm out, I'm gone, and I'm blissed out. You know, meditation is something I would definitely, especially for high pressure, you know, you're 4 weeks on the go, you're back to back on shows, you've been home for 2 freaking days in 4 weeks. This stuff really, it's the whole self-care preservation part of the big picture I wanted to talk about as well. But not a lot of techs talk about, because this is a very, you know, it's a macho industry, you know, where, you know, how you feeling? I'm fine. You know, you've got to be this impenetrative shield of strength on every show to show. You know, and sometimes cracks appear, and you know, we got to take and preserve. So, another thing I say is watch more film, watch more cinema, not like outside of the Marvel universe, please. Watch more cinema. Okay.
Hey, hold up. Why outside of the Marvel universe?
Focus on writing.
Those are some of the greatest written masterpieces ever written by some of the best writers in the world. Do not attack my comics. No, I'm joking. I understand what you're saying. I'm just messing with you.
So Felix, just to dive in that a little bit more for the audience who might be viewing this and thinking the same thing, you know, Chris is thinking here, you know, what are some recommended ones? You know, the first ones I think of is like Gone with the Wind is it timeless. You know, right now they're remaking Dune, so I want to bring that up. Dune's coming out again.
The new Dune trailer is goosebumps.
Oh my God, that's exactly what Felix is talking about. Let the fear pass through you.
Exactly. Only I shall remain. Yeah, I can't wait for the new Dune. That's going to be, and again, what a fantastic book. I mean, completely transports you to another universe completely. That's the kind of writing you want to get into to become a more lateral thinker. You know, films, you know, I mean, in my top 5, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, or again, the book by Ken Kesey as well. It's just a real deep dive into humanity, and it's scary, and it's weird, and it's amazing at the same time, and it's brilliant storytelling, which is what we shouldn't be thinking, like I want to bring it back to, we should be thinking more about business theatre. We're now in a position, should this industry come back the way I think it will, we should be doing business cinema at this point and are on the verge of presenting, business cinema to some of our clients. And, again, I'm going to get to talent and dealing with corporate talent in particular soon. But just while we're in this, this creative mode here, again, take time now, especially, like I said, to explore, some older mid-century films where all they had was the writing. They had no CGI. They had not a special effect to speak of. When you've got to build a show, like people will often say the Ten Commandments was an historical film achievement because all that stuff was real. It was all film sets. There's no computers, no digital animation to help those guys.
All right, I gotta cut Felix off for a second because I'm already getting attacked in the comments for my comic book question here. All right, so let me elaborate on this. Yes, I know the cinematic pieces of Marvel are beautiful pieces, but that's all they are. That's all they are meant to be, is a beautiful picture of what you're looking at. They do not dictate or depictate the comic books as they were written. I will not get into this debate with you because it'll be a 5-hour long fucking Zoom. Excuse my French. That's the geek in me. So we're just going to leave this one alone, AV trainer. Okay. And I'm calling you out on this one personally. But yes, comic books, they were definitely way better than all the Marvel movies put together. They will never touch them. They can't touch them. There's just things they can't do, and there's things they can't bring in for copyright reasons. But we'll leave this one alone. If you guys want to message me privately, you're more than welcome to. I will debate you all day long on who the best comic character is, on everything else. That's the geek in me. But we're going to leave this to Felix so he can do his thing. Stop calling me out in chat, please.
Chris, nobody's calling you. Actually, I want to know why Omar goes with Gone with the Wind as the first movie on the top of his head.
Yeah, that was interesting.
All right, so I have 2 degrees. One of my degrees is in digital film photography, and that was what I had to do one of my papers on, which Gone with the Wind. And like in my college, it was a huge thing with the professor because he did some stuff in the background for it. So that was just the first one that came to mind. I know it's like a popular one, but that's just the first thing in mind. All right. I followed up with Doom. Right, give me a break. Give me a break.
We'll ask you to do some lines from it after the show. All right, let's get back to Felix.
I don't give a damn. Look, I'm a Blade Runner guy, like the original Blade Runner, Ridley Scott, 1982. I don't think that has been surpassed as a cinematic scope as far as what he did with what he had at the time. That is all scenic. That is all lighting. That is all physical matter that he dealt with and created from scratch. So I really appreciate 2049. Blade Runner 2049, 3-hour mesmerizing digital postcard from Planet, with Hans Zimmer going nuts.
Sorry, Scarlett O'Hara has another question.
Well, yes, I do declare, Omar, you do have another question.
Okay. What about the Dark Crystal? The Dark Crystal, is that count? Is that there, or is that like a cult? Is that cult?
That's your second favorite film after Gone with the Wind.
We're gonna go Dark Crystal. Hold on. If you're gonna go Dark Crystal, we're gonna really go movie cinematic buff here. You're going Dark Crystal. Labyrinth with David Bowie was literally the best Jim Henson's Muppet masterpiece ever created, and there is nobody that can argue with me on that. You can try to, but I promise you, you will lose. I own it Blu-ray, VHS. I own the book. I own the comics. When I say I'm a geek, guys, I'm a geek. I'm a nerd. I am an IT. Your complete conformity of what a geek is. This tattoo right here is a Gears of War torque bow arrow. I have Stitch tattooed on my. I am a geek. Okay.
Wow, and I thought being a Trekker was nerdy. Okay.
Nope, I beat him.
I love me some stuff. Look, I love sci-fi to death, and I'm a big fan of certain filmmakers, and Ridley Scott is definitely one of them. He makes good cinema. That is certain. I also wanted to touch on. We could sit here. We could go at this all night with cinema 5 hours. Are you kidding, Bodie? We could go on for 10 when it comes to cinema. I'm sure we all could. But in terms of approaching stage design, I'm one of those guys in terms of being a producer. I still draw sketches. I still sketch my staging and present it as such. Okay, there's an overhead, right? That's 2 oval stages connected with a weirdo runway and an elevation. And I sold that for $3,000 to a creative agency, including a CAD guy to do it up for me. The CAD guy did it in 2 versions. Why? Here's a drawing. You like it? Yes, no. That's fine. I can do another one in 15 minutes. So on and so forth. I'm talking about getting creative also to save your clients money. Think of ways, skill sets you have that's like for me, I'm stopping the CAD and the rendering going to version 17. I'm stopping it at version 7, and they agree, is when I get really proud of the design, when it's like, it's done, it's back. And the CAD guy, it's cost them $600 versus $1,800, $2,000, $3,000 in drawings and renderings, which of course the show has to look like. So that's just a little insider background into how I operate, and still do present artist sketches, artist renderings, as you were, like they do before they make a big building. You know, an artist will do a rendering of kind of what it'll look like, and from a vision point of view. And again, if you can grab the client and get an agreement on the vision and on what they want to achieve, that is one of the biggest hurdles of putting on a show. And for me as a producer, the most work is not on the show side. It is always pre-production. And I want to talk about the importance of pre-production and how a lot of clients don't like to pay for it or feel it's necessary, just like rehearsals. Like, okay, you don't want to rehearse this? We'll do it live. I can't guarantee it's going to be great. I can't guarantee every cue will be hit. I can't guarantee that, you know, you have that come to Jesus conversation with the client at that point. You don't want to pay for a rehearsal? Why are we doing this? I'm that staunch about it. I will not let a show go forward if that discussion comes up. If I'm working with a client or an end user that feels, oh, we'll just wing it. You know, no, I'm too advanced in my career, too late stage to make excuses for programs like that, where we just did it live, the client didn't care, and no one cared. No one really wants to be part of something like that, you know. So again, the more you can put behind the drive in terms of pre-production and that's a salesperson's job too. Don't get me wrong. You're all technical guys. You've got to lean on a salesperson if you work in a production company or you're a freelancer. You're relying that the show was sold properly by that production company. And that's why, again, if you have formed relationships with big production houses, which I know just about all of you here have, I think you can be well within your rights to demand time around the creative table with them and process that and charge them for it. Why not? Thoughts? Crispin, what do you think of that?
One of my big things about this is that as I've been doing this for 25 years now, and in the beginning, clients would pay for all this sort of pre-production junk on the floor, that type of thing. Now they all think, because of the web and all that,
and digital technology, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's because of the fact that you have all these departments above us. They're trying to figure out what they want to talk about or how they want to project it to us. And then we're the people that are supposed to project it for them. 95% of the time, they just have a concept. They don't have everything we need. So we got to sort of dream it up and make some sort of flow and all this other junk that's going on. So yes, the internet has made a big problem for us, because back in the day, all this was planned. It was done. And before you even walked in the room, everyone knew what the fuck they were doing. And now, today, they all feel like they can wait till the very last second because we have internet and mail and email and
digital magic will fix it. Digital magic will fix it. Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. Yeah.
They're going to say the or the when they could be easily saying this over a cup of coffee. But, you know, they don't see about the big picture because they're not really the guys paying the bill. You know, so we'll all sit there at 3 a.m. in the morning. We got to be back at 6 a.m., by the way. You know, we're all sitting there staring at each other going, what the fuck? Really? Are we talking about the or the on the stage? I'm being sort of sarcastic about it, but yes, I have been in this epidemic. As the fact that the client was so big and so huge, they brought a speech therapist in to sit there and say if he should say the or the. And
yeah. I've seen some crazy speaker training scenarios too. You got to sit through as well, no doubt. But who else can jump on the back of that one?
Well, Felix, I was thinking a lot about what you said earlier about the creative process and that very accurate graph you put up. And really, for the client, I'm a freelancer. I show up on the day. I almost never in my line of work even get a diagram so much as the minute before I walk in. I'm lucky if I get one when I walk in. So even the pre-production has happened a little bit, and I'm showing up on the day, and the whole fuck off part of the client's process has surpassed. They're in the green past panic mode of just get it done. And I'm showing up and I'm just starting my red zone of all right, let's get a coffee. Let's unload the truck. Let's start to put the show together the way we think it's going to be. And they're already at a 10 and all wound up. And you have to understand that you have to catch up with where is the client, and the client could be, we're trying to do this. We're trying to keep it under budget, or they could be like, we'll throw money at the problem. It almost never is, but you have to come in and get a read on the client. You can't slow them down and say, take me back to square one of your pre-production process. You got to jump in and meet them at that energy and help them say, okay, we're going to navigate this space for you. I'm going to jump right to 10 right with you. And I'm going to figure out, how are we going to make your vision happen in your budget with the equipment that's shown up? Are we going to get another truck down here to get some more equipment? And you just got to kind of match that energy and make sure they understand that you are with them wherever they are mired in there. If it's deciding between the word the and the, or whether there's going to be lights at all, you have to kind of accept that that's where they are in the panic of their process. And you just got to yes and that and give them the permission to panic a little bit and tell them it's going to be okay. We do 1,000 of these a year and we're going to make everything work out for you.
Yeah,
real quick. By just a nod of everybody's head, I have us in gallery view for this particular reason. Shake your head yes or shake your head no. Have you ever gone to a job and it be exactly the way it was written out? Okay, I have one.
Yeah, Dave works for good companies.
I was going to say I have one yes, and it comes from Dave. So everybody else.
Well, I get in on the creative process pretty early a lot of times.
So. Yeah, he's pre-production.
Okay, so you're pre-production. So anyway, okay. So basically, let me ask the question, I guess, a little bit better. Post-production, do you ever go to a show and it goes off exactly the way you were told it's going to go?
Now, if you're showing up on the day and you're passing one group that's loading out while you're loading in your client's show, no, you're already behind the ball.
So what Felix is saying is absolutely, and Felix and Nat are both going over and saying here is absolutely 100% true. You have to be able to roll with the punches and keep on moving. If you don't, you're just going to get buried. And I hate to be as blunt to say this. And this is coming from somebody who's new. I have only been on one show. I'm going to be working more shows coming up in the future. But if you can't roll with the punches and make things happen the way they need to happen, this isn't the industry for you.
Exactly.
And I hate to be so forward about it and blunt about it. I know some of you people that are here love what you do, love being a video guy, love being an audio guy, love doing what you. I love sitting behind the computer and making everything read each other and do what it needs to do. But if you can't switch like that and come up with what needs to be done, you need to find somewhere else to be. Because I don't know any job that you go to that's going to be, this is your flow. There's very few 8 to 5 jobs, banker hour jobs that you go to. I'm in an industry right now where I am doing 8 to 5. And I go to work every day and I'm like, what did you just say? That's not what we did yet. What? So it's just,
you just got to put you got to put the client first. The client has to get what they need to get.
Jason?
Yeah, I think it's important to, really quickly when you walk into those situations, establish the chain of command. because I've been on so many job sites where you've got 4 executives and they all have handlers and handlers for the handlers, and they're all contradicting each other. You know, they're saying, no, we have to start in black for 3 seconds to get everyone's attention. And the other person saying, no, we roll the video right into the opening of the show. You know, so for me, I always try to get with the project manager first off and say, who's the person I have to listen to, and who is the person that I have to patronize, for, you know, for lack of a better word, or politically say, let me run that up the poll. Let me, you know, okay, I'm going to check on that, versus, yes, that will absolutely happen the way you want it. And if you can find that person right off the bat and you hug them, you know, not physically hug them, but you stay along their path, whatever they're going through in the show, the decision maker, and you make things happen for them, you're going to go a long way.
I mean, if it makes your life easier, give them a hug.
I have hugged a few of them too.
I try to stay on my clients about you know, the email chain. You know, a lot of these project managers and people selling the shows, a lot of become a little bit of Swiss Army knives as far as trying to put the show together, building CADs and everything. But if you can get them to put you in on those email chains that are flowing with the CADs and the drawings, you can kind of get a little perspective. And the first time you can jump in there and, you know, with a discrepancy, if it's whether it's lensing or cable runs or whatever to help it out, then you brought value to yourself, you know, even before the show.
Nick, that's the perfect point that I want to make here. Like, we can all work at as much level of pre-production as we can to make things as good as they can. I think now, after this pandemic, we get through this, I think we're going to be in a great position to start, Nick, demanding being part of more of those sort of meetings and those phone calls and those creative gatherings where this sort of information can be cut off at the pass. And they'll, you know, this is the video engineer, he is the voice of reason, this is the lighting guy, also very much a voice of reason. This is the technical director that agrees with the video and the lighting guy as to why that's a good idea and why that is not. You know, and again, the most successful, greatest programs I've ever been involved in, whether I've been the PM, the production manager, or TD show caller, or even just the voice of God, are the ones where I'm involved from the get-go. And I tell them, yeah, here's my pre-production cost. It's next to nothing. It's a quarter of what I charge per day, but I want to be involved. And that's an easy sell. That's an easy
stress level down for you and everyone else.
Exactly. This is what I'm getting at. We need to feel like we're more entitled to be involved earlier in the piece. And yes, just to speak to that, what Nat just spoke of, and what Bodie was saying, if you're not ready to pivot and think creatively and work it the fuck out, when, you know, when the shit is blown all over the fan and all over the wall, if you're not ready to position yourself to make that a very different space 10 minutes later, yeah, you're probably in the wrong game, and you haven't had enough experience to be at that level, but that experience does come. Having said that, we all need to step back a little bit and realize that no one's a miracle worker. We're all good, but we're not that good. And we try to come to the fray when the fray is frayed all over the place and lap it all together best we can. But I still think we're in a position as we move forward, as this industry evolves and we get back on the horse to live gigs, that a project manager should demand that on that phone call, the video guy, the lighting guy, and the A1, the three main leads should be represented on that call to point out to you how way the fuck off course you're going to be if you don't listen to them from the get-go. Design is great. And like I said, I'll draw pictures all damn day, but I'll have a TD and CAD guy that look at me and go, that doesn't work. No, ceiling's only 18 feet. You want 19 for? No, that's not going to work. And I've had relationships where, you know, with CAD guys that draw CADs and technical directors, I call them the dream killers. You killed my dream again. But, you know, you've got to be realistic. Again, you have to give them specs and drawing that fits the fucking ballroom or the space you're working within, or you've got an uphill battle in front of you trying to convince them it's a good design to start with. So, again, going off on a few tangents here, but I figured this was going to be a kind of a loose and fun discussion. And I thank you again, Nick, for bringing up, you know, that we got to be on those phone calls, on those email chains before the week out. Well, let's face it, like, yeah, we all have a challenge, but no one likes getting off a 5-day show to a flight to go home and do laundry to find out, to walk into another hotel and go, so what the fuck's going on here? Right? That's a feeling we all deal with. We know it's coming, but the more we can minimize that, the better the show, the better you feel as a tech, the better the producer's going to feel. And I think, like I said, experienced as we are now, I think we are in our rights with the client to ask them for a favor back. Hey, here we are all day doing you guys favors. Here's a favor I'm asking of you. Put me on the damn phone call with the V1, with the LD, and with the people that actually matter. You know, Jenny from marketing can sit this one out. No offense, but you know what I'm saying? I'm going back to thinking of my last company's 5 stages of the show. Where's Omar? Is he still on there?
Yeah.
The 5 stages of the show, which is what?
Well, Omar, you have something to say really quick before we jump to that?
Yeah, well, no, Jason has his hand up. I wanted him to go first, but real quick before Jason, I'll let you go. I just want to let everybody know we're at that hour mark right now. So, keep them coming. Just giving you guys a reminder, we have an hour left of the show. You make sure you're getting your questions in. I have one question from the comment section right now. But again, I want to let Jason go first. I know you had your hand up a couple times, and I don't want to jump over you, brother.
No, it was just real quick. He already touched base on it. We're in an industry where we're only as good as our last show. So like Felix was saying, you don't want to have to make excuses for somebody else who didn't do the correct pre-production. So, Nick and Felix both touched base on it. Being part of the email chains or being a part of the pre-production process works for some of us because we're able to say, you know what, that's a good idea, but it's not going to work. We can do it this way and get it done and change it before we get on site. So we don't end up being that 5-day on this show, fly in, show up at our hotel, hit the next spot at 6 a.m. and already know that it's not going to work when we're walking in.
Yeah, we want it to be as ideal as possible. Let's just say that.
The question I'm getting from the Facebook community, and I feel like Felix or Dave could kind of maybe jump in on this and answer a little bit. So here's the question, and it's definitely happens a lot. So that's why I'm like, you know what, this is a good one. What if the client says they're certain the sky's green and that this is the way they have done it before? Pretty much saying, if you have a client that's saying to you, we've done it this all the time. What do you mean? Why can't we do it this time? What's different? We got the same gear, the same everything. Why is it different this time? What would you guys say to that scenario?
I've set up rooms just to demonstrate why something won't work. I've done CADs. I always take as many pictures as I can, and I keep them, pretty well organized. So I've had those discussions with clients where they say, no, there was a walkway through here. We were in this venue last year. We have the same size screens. I swear there's a walkway through on this side. And I just pull the picture up on my phone and go, this was the picture of last year's. I don't think anyone's fitting through that 6-inch gap, and yeah, it doesn't win you friends, but it can just turn an hour-long discussion into a 5-minute acceptance.
Yeah, no, exactly, Dave. And like, again, where I start and finish that conversation is you're dealing with ladies and gentlemen here that defy physics for a living. These guys manipulate sound, light, so that your eyes and ears make sense of it, okay? And it doesn't always work in the same space that way, particularly sound. Again, that's my discipline, my background. Sound is a big, hairy, woolly beast that bounces all over walls and does not behave the way you want it to in any specific space unless you train it and make it work. And again, why put an engineer or people's ears in a position where that's going to happen? Just cut it off at the chase and say, let's think of something else now. Yeah, I agree.
I want to interject right now. Hey, anyone hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead, Chris.
So what Felix was saying, very, very, very true. There's times as a technician, no matter what your pride is or what you're dealing with it, you got to make that client feel like it was their idea. It was their idea, You got to interject that to them in a fashion that doesn't make it sound like you're telling them this is what they need to do. You need to re-energize that into them. That this is what it will help you make it if you make that decision.
That's a great point.
All of a sudden, they love you, because you just made them look like a rock star. All right. If you act like an ass, like a lot of the video technicians I know, and don't get me wrong, they earn that respect because they've already went down that road and knew that this was the wrong thing to do. A lot of them had the problem, I say problem, but they've already done it so many times now they're very short-sighted and they don't give a fuck what the client thinks. I'm just going to tell you this is what's going to happen. That is usually a rock star V1, all right? Because he's already done this 80,000 times. He doesn't want to go down this road again. He doesn't want to look bad. He doesn't want to have a problem. The big issue here is trying to make the client feel like that was their idea. Because anyone on the crew, if they make it like a necessity, just like your mama telling you, you can't eat this. What are you going to do? You're not going to eat it, right? You're going to do whatever she didn't want you to do. Same situation. They're just grown-ups now. Same situation. If you sit there and project on them that you have to do this, all of a sudden they're going to try to find some way to make you look bad or make the whole production look like they fucked up because it wasn't their idea. But if you redirect it and sit there and lay an option in front of them and feed them to the fact that that's their idea, even though indirectly, no, it wasn't. But you're just trying to push them. Now they look good in front of their boss.
Yeah, that's a real part of Showcraft great idea. Let's do it. And that you formulated in front of them. Yeah, most definitely. And I think that goes across just about any industry or discipline.
Good. Where you're at, or if you're correct or anything, the moment you make the client look bad in front of his boss, it's a bad situation.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree.
I couldn't agree with that. Like I said, I'm short-lived in the AV as far as what I've done so far, but especially, like I said, I'm an IT engineer. I'm a stream engineer background. I got called in to oversee or help with something, and I pointed out some things that needed to be changed and basically got stymied the whole way through. And it's like, I'm trying to make it simpler for you to where you can push it out without flaw. The way I had to do it was literally make that person feel like it was their idea, for them to agree with me, even though the whole time I'm going, you're doing it wrong. It's not looking right because you're not doing it right. And they're like, oh no, this is how we've done it. We've already done 3 shows this way. Everything's went great. And I'm like, okay, but you're getting this effect because you're doing this and you're not doing this. And they're going, oh no, that's not it. And I'm like, okay, hey, do me a favor. Let's look at this. Look at your level right here. Oh, let's change this. It worked. Okay, in my mind, I'm going, I've only been telling you that for 3 fucking weeks, but hey, whatever. You do what you want to do. This is your show, so I'll make you look like a rock star to your corporation while I sit back and look like an idiot.
And so much of what Chris Patterson is talking about is understanding what kind of client you're talking about. Like what Dave was explaining, there are clients you can show a picture to and say, no, that's not how we do it. This is how we did it last year. This is the way it is. And then there's other clients who don't know anything about what you do and get in your face and say, explain to me exactly why you can't do it the way I want it. And sometimes what you do is you say, all right, the best way to not have an adversarial relationship right now is to give them half an hour of your time, your valuable time that you're helping them, and put it aside and say, I'm going to talk to you like you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to explain it in detail. I'm going to tell you why you've either lucked into it working correctly in the past or why I do not have the equipment to make it look the way you want it. And just giving them that time and that humanity will let them know that you're on their side. And then the options that you present to them are the best things you're doing in good faith for their service.
And I think a good principle whenever you're dealing in a collaborative environment, like production, is to compliment in public and criticize or confront in private. Go to it if the client's going nuts over something that's just flat out impossible. Pull your project manager aside and say, don't bring it up in the group with all the techs and maybe their boss and maybe their subordinate. and say that just won't work. No, just take a second, pull the project manager aside, or send them a text while you're in the meeting and say, what's the best way to broach that this won't work, and let them, because more than likely that project manager knows who the players are in the room, knows when the right time to broach that, confrontation with that client, and it's not you being that sore thumb who's disagreeable.
Right, and Omar and I were talking about this exact scenario where we got, like about a week ago, where we were talking about, we've all been on a show where a client has come up, stuck their nose up over the drape or the scenic surround and said, can you turn it down? It's a bit loud. And
Maybe
the guy,
the lighting guy.
And yeah, well, right. And literally, there's a guy standing, goes, I do lights. That's the sound guy. And I've literally seen it, and it's jaw-dropping to me. Like, what does it take to go, pardon me? Oh, certainly. Yeah, I'll see what I can do for you. How easy was that? Right? And just let them wait. And if they have to wait an eternity because you're producing the fucking show, they can wait. But if you can try and get them an answer, why not do it for them? I wanted to bring up really quick, to wrap up, actually, I think, to wrap up, Omar, it's good to identify that don't anyone be, I'm the audio guy, talk to the lighting guy. Let me find out who that is for you. Let me find out, and I'll get back to you. It may not be in 10 seconds. It may not be for half an hour, but I will help you somehow. There's nothing wrong with that. And like when I first moved to this country and I had my green card and I was literally green with my green card in Pasadena as the director of audiovisual of the Ritz-Carlton Pasadena. It's amazing how they have this system. And we've all worked at a Ritz, yes? Everyone's worked at a Ritz-Carlton, more or less. Come on. It is the reason these people are the hoteliers. They could be running the crappiest looking hotel or the oldest looking hotel and deliver you the best service you've ever had. And they have a reason, they have a culture, as they say, behind. A lot of people criticize them and say they're a cult of customer service. No, they have a culture. And as a contractor on their side, I had to walk around with one of their Credo cards in my pocket too, which was their little Bible as to how to treat the customer. And the most striking thing to me, I'll cut right to the chase here, is what me and Omar agree with, is like, don't leave it up to doubt. If there's one thing in the Ritz-Carlton Credo, in their culture, that they nail, is when they answer a client, they say, certainly, sir. Certainly, madam. Not, I got you. I'll look into that. Yeah, we'll see what we can do. Certainly means it's certain. It's going to happen. There's something in that verbiage that these people put together that makes them the geniuses and the amazing hoteliers that they are. Because the Ritz Pasadena was an old hotel. It was antiquated. I had, old wall sconces and doilies, and it looked like grandma's, tea house, this place. And the ballroom was with all the Viennese crystal, it was very over the top and gorgeous. But I was taught something there about service, which I think I've taken since and applied it to everything I've done, which is when you're with a client, tell them whether it's certain. And if it's not certain, don't bullshit them. Okay? Just say, I have to speak to my video engineer, my this, my that, the other, and make that a reality. What you're asking me right in the spot, I can't answer right now. Okay? Don't be a superhero, but be certain. And that's something I really took from my Ritz experience when I was very green, very young in this country, and green in the whole hotel AV industry. At the end of the day, guys, client perception versus our reality. Okay, let's face it. Okay, we're voodoo witch doctors to most of our clients. Okay, they don't want to know about it. They don't want to know how it works. They don't care how it works, but fix it. Okay. And I've worked with meeting planners for years. And I, in casual or social environments, I have a shot at them. Like, how many a time have I talked to you about the difference between front and rear projection? Real basic, run-of-the-mill hotel AV stuff. You work that out. I don't care. That's who, just get it done. And we're these, the witch doctors that dance and sing a song and make it happen to them. As far as they're concerned, we know how much more depth there is involved in what we do, but we have to sit there and look at them and say, unga bunga, it shall be done. Okay, let us go and stew the pot and fix it for you. Okay, and again, I know as a producer or a technical director or a PM, it's their job to be the buffer between the client and you as the technician 9 times out of 10. You shouldn't be standing there dealing with an irate client or CEO, CFO, marketing manager because their slides are fucked up and this and that and fucking other. That should bounce off a guy like me or a project manager before it gets to you. But sometimes that guy's standing over your shoulder back of house, knowing how the hell he or she got in. You don't know. You don't know who they are. They haven't even introduced themselves, but they're pointing at their slide frantically going, this is all wrong. And the one that, the graphics engineer that can sit there and go, stand up, look at me in the eye, shake their hand and say, hi, my name's Felix. How can I help you? You have just leveled the playing field right there. Okay. Just with that little act of courtesy and bravery and courage, right? Grace under pressure, like Hemingway said. A little bit of courage there, a little bit of, stand up, shake their hand, introduce yourself. Suddenly they're on the back foot because, oh shit, I didn't even introduce myself. Oh, hi, I'm Bob. I'm the marketing manager. Oh, well, shit, you're a big deal. What can I do for you, Bob? It's that little bit of difference, I think, in dealing with that. And I know techs are on their 5th show, 5 weeks, been at home 3 days. And you're like, what do you want? It's the best you can get out of some guys sometimes. But again, that's not what we're being paid for. That's not the client perception. Okay. The client perception is, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. But again, putting them in a comfort zone where it's either certain or let me look into it. You're going to have to give me a minute on this one. That's all they want to hear. When you stand in line at Publix or at a place to buy a sandwich, what do you want to hear? I'll be right with you. How many times do people fail on that level in a supermarket or a store that they own? They're a business owner. They're just so deeply involved in, like I said, this show is called The Big Picture, so we can hopefully all be buried deep in our console at the time, being paid to be the professionals we are because we're exceptionally good at what we do behind that console, but still be able to look up and have that big picture, something go in front of your eyes and say, yes, certainly, what can we do for you?
To your point on that, Felix, you were 100% right on that. The fact that you said the biggest thing that turns you off is when somebody ignores you or they don't talk to you. I have walked out of stores, not in spite, not because I didn't need something, because I was standing there trying to get an answer to a question or something, and nobody acknowledged the fact that I was standing there. Even though I needed that store, I drove 20 miles another way to another store to get what I needed, because they didn't even acknowledge the fact that I was standing there. So 100% acknowledging somebody in that regard, just saying, hey, I'll be with you in 1 minute. I'll be happy to help you. Just give me 1 minute. Or, hey, you know what? I don't know what's going on. Let me find out who the video director is and we can get this working out. Or I don't know about this situation, but let me find out. Case in point, I'm new to the AV world. I was on a show. Hey, the lighting looks a little hot. Give me 2 seconds to find out who the lighting guy is. I'll find it out for you. Went to the TD, said, hey, who's running lighting? The lighting's a little hot. It's throwing glares on the video. This person is, let's go talk to him. And it was done.
Well, that's what, believe it or not just with clients, but with, the companies that you work for. That's what makes you stand out as well. Me doing camera work, a lot of times you show up at the camera, you build your camera, you build your decks, and you're done. Me, I'm not done. If cables still need to be pulled, I'm going to pull some cables. If we need to tape some stuff down, I'm going to tape some stuff down. And believe it or not, in the short amount of time that I've been working AV, that made me more available, or not made me more available. More companies hired me based off of that, because other people would talk about me to the people they worked with as if, hey, this is the guy who does this. Oh, well, let's get him. And so it's not just with clients. It could be with the people that you're working for. If it's your first or second time working with them and they're like, hey, is that my camera guy? Why is he helping them with the audio? Why is he plugging in DMX? Why is he doing this? Because I went and asked the lead, hey, I'm done. You need a hand? Cool, go ahead. Once we're all set up, I'm not done. And it's the little things like that, being able to stop and pause and tell the client, yes, sir, how can I help you? I'm Jason, I'm here, da-da-da-da-da. Or go and do that extra mile. That's going to get you more gigs as you go as you move further
Yeah.
on.
And Dan,
Best
right?
advice you can absolutely give, Jason, was that right there. You might not be there to do a particular item of that loadout or that show or that setup or anything, but the fact that you're willing to put that effort in to help with that aspect of the setup and show, somebody's going to look at that and go, you know what, I want this guy doing my cameras, because when he was here, not only did he set up his cameras, but he came in and he helped the audio guys get things set up. He helped this person get their shit squared away. He helped this guy get ready for the show. He was going to make us an hour behind. Jason jumped on and helped him to where we were only 5 minutes behind a setup. So that's the best point. That what you just said is exactly how you have to be when you go to a show. You can't just be, I'm only here to look at a computer screen. No. What do you need me to do? I got you. Don't worry, dude.
That's coming out of COVID. We're going to have smaller and smaller crews.
Facts.
So, everyone's going to have to do a few tasks, and whoever's running behind, you pick up the other teams that are ahead, pick up the slack, get it done. We're all there for the one show.
I want to clue in right now. So, like you were saying, like jumping in, typically, all right, if I'm the switcher guy and stuff, my camera guys are usually typically fucking lazy as fuck. Besides cable, it's very rare when I see my camera guy jumping in trying to help with a stage or something sort of thing. I have no problem with that as long as we're not doing camera shit.
Right. Absolutely.
And for the camera guy, that what you were trying to do right there, I'm trying to cue on what you're saying, that yes, as a camera guy, actually that's your foothold in the door. All right. You're no one really at this moment being the camera guy in the room, unless you're being flown somewhere because they really like what your camera shots are.
Right.
Otherwise, you are the hodgepodge local, I need a camera guy. All right. Well, that means for me in my seat, usually, if I'm switching, I got to follow out each one of my guys. Let's say I have 4 camera guys. And within the first 30 minutes of me learning them, I got to figure out who's going to be on my long lens. He's going to be the guys who are willing to fucking hold that camera on his arm through the fucking front deck and all that sort of shit. I had to like play those angles really fast. And sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. I didn't pick the right guy for the right job or whatever. That's because you just literally just met them. You have no any other idea. So you really got to learn how to play someone out really fast with a few little questions. Just like me building giant LED walls and all that sort of stuff. Let's say I have 25 helping me build this giant Glothal LED wall. Within the first 30 minutes of me learning them, I had to find like the 2 guys that are going to be my wing boys or wing girl, and that I could sit there and give them a separate project and run and drive 4 or 5 guys on the edge of the stage. And they understand where I'm trying to go. Because the worst thing for me to do is not subjugate my workload. If I don't subjugate my workload, I will be a failure all of a sudden because I did not do what they suspected in the time factor. So with that in mind, you have to find people in your group, whoever that is. I don't care if it's in a union city or whatever else. Typically in union cities, 90% of the time, they're all lazy. Besides that 10% of the time, that one guy wants to shine. And that's the guy you grab, or that girl, or whatever. Because those are going to be the 2 people you grab with you for what I do. I'm going to sit there and say, all right, you're my power guy. Now, if there's any problems, that's your fucking mistake. You fucking ride it out. I'm going to ride you the whole way through this. You want the down, not downfall, but the what's the right word here? Education of it, or responsibility. There it is, responsibility of it. And usually they want to learn something, they want to do something, but you got to find that one person that really knows what the fuck they're doing. They're not going to like grab the green out of a fucking distro. You know what I'm saying?
Zap.
I've fired people out of the fucking gig because they did something stupid like that. I'm like, no, you're not in my crew anymore. You're fucking fired. You go somewhere else. I don't give a fuck who you go to, but you're not in my crew anymore because you're going to kill somebody. I have had to be that anal about it. And when it goes up to the higher ups, upshots, they respect it, even though it might be a little coarse or hard, and people get their feelings hurt. But I'm trying to save fucking lives here and save a production. So you doing the wrong thing. I really don't care about your fucking feelings right now. You should know what the fuck you're doing. All right. If you're doing this and you just told me you're going to know how to do this, and I see you grab the wrong thing, no, you do not know what you're doing. Back to the bus.
Or if you're trying to see if you can educate and turn around. But we're on a job site and everyone's got things to do. Thanks, Chris. That's it's important. You've got to delegate correctly. You've got to have the right people around you. I'm never the smartest guy in the room. Never. Never, and never ever will be. And I promise you, it's great to be surrounded by people that know exactly what they're doing in their given fields, so they can delegate the work properly and move everything forward. We're going to have to wrap up now. We're past time.
We do have about 30 minutes left, so we're going to let Felix wrap up his talk. I do want to thank Chris for that one point that he did make and that a lot of people don't make, is the fact that it's not just your guy. You do have women in this industry who are just as badass as these males that are doing this. So don't ever discredit when you have a woman on your show that she can't do something that somebody else can't do, because I have met some women that can put some men that do their job to shame. And I'm not talking just your audio and your video. I'm talking humping in 100-pound crates on their back and load outs and load ins. And so don't ever discredit the women in this industry. They will sometimes put us men to shame.
Facts.
Well, we better get them on this show, otherwise we're going to get canceled, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, definitely. I mean,
cancel culture's real.
As a producer and TV on a show, it's really encouraging to see more and more of a female presence, particularly among stagehands here in Miami now. One, most of the guys tend to behave a bit better on site if there is a female on the crew. And two, like you said, often it's like guys leave with their head spinning going, wow, I learned so much from her. Yeah. It's not even funny. Boy, did she take me around the lot today and show me how it's done. And I love seeing that too. I've got another, couple of pages of stuff we could dive into here, which might even be suited to another program in terms of set design and using space. I just want to talk quickly before we wrap up about dynamics on a show. Now, like I said, we've talked about really quick how when we've had the full armada of technology with us, there's a 200-foot curved, 60-foot high LED wall. There's outboard satellite screens. There's 200 movers in the air. There's smoke. There's lasers. You can't fuck this one up, right? You can't possibly. That's to me where, without a huge designer and creative team and that behind it, to make that full on for 3-4 days is a whole. It's a whole other company sometimes, but often we're leaned on hard to create backgrounds that match the branded colors and the message and the communication and the philosophy. And it's really good to pay attention to that stuff to ensure that your client's getting the best out of the technology you have. And sometimes, like we dealt back at the start of the show, you're dealing with a little switcher and a lighting board where you've got to bump the lights when it switches to make it look like a clean switch. These little tricks you have to incur and get creative with the equipment you have to complete the task at hand is never going to go away. That's going to be pretty self-evident in whatever we do. But in terms of dynamics, as a designer, as a lighting designer, as a sound guy, whatever your position may be, you don't need to fill the screen or the air with everything at once. I want to give you a little analogy. I grew up playing guitar. I'm not a great guitar player, but I love doing it for fun. And I listen to a lot of different music. And the analogy I like to make is those guitar players that will stand there with 15-foot pedals and turn them all at once and just turn the volume up and make a bunch of racket, right? That's not really sending much of a communication. That's using every bit of gear you've got, but making no statement whatsoever. Use one pedal, turn it down, use 1 or 2 strings at a time to make a far more impactful statement. More is definitely less in this philosophical discussion at times. So don't be afraid on a show site to recommend to a producer, hey, maybe we bring it right down here. And I'll leave you with this. One of my favorite artist performers, definitely of the 90s, if not all time, is a female. She's called Björk. She's from Iceland. Yeah. She did one of the most incredible performances I've ever seen at the Hollywood Bowl in California when I lived out there. And just in terms of, I'll leave you this dynamic, she turned up on stage with 2 techno DJs and a 9-piece chamber orchestra. What a sound straight away. It was just so haunting and amazing and modern, yet such a throwback to the past. And one song, she would sing a ballad where it was literally one green Mac 700 behind her and a huge silhouette in the shadow for one whole song. Then the next song was like every musician going off, every mover going off, every hazer blowing out, pyro blowing off the top of the roof of the bowl, and then she'd bring it right back down again to just the chamber orchestra. And like that sense of dynamic is something you can bring to a show. Sometimes without even being asked to do it, or letting the producer know. You can, for instance, some of the simplest, they'll leave you with this very simple thing. When I work with a sound guy, I say, give me a slow fade. I always say, give me a slow fade. Because the amount of top-notch A1s I've worked with, that when they fade, they just go, give it away, give it away, give it. Give me a nice slow fade out. Let me hear the end of the cadence of the lyrics. Let's be artists as well as technicians here and be kind to these people's ears. Let's make it cinematic. Let's make it big. Let's make it small and haunting and interesting. Okay, and again, it's client perception versus reality. And I'm going to leave you with 2 quotes to wrap up tonight, I think. The first one is Jimi Hendrix was asked once, and one of my favorite visionary, creative talents of all time in my heart is Jimi Hendrix. Followed, I've read his autobiography a dozen times, and he was asked, why do you go to these cafes and watch these much lesser musicians and artists? That band was crap, you know. And he's like, well, hey, man, everyone's got something to offer. I learn something new every time. And that's something that's lived with me forever. Like, don't discount what you're working with and who you're working with. There's something to be learned and done with every experience and scenario here, and something we need to give on to the next generation of technicians and artists and musicians and people we work with. So in terms of dynamic and
I believe that's the actual premise behind AV Educate, is to educate everybody to not be left behind. Everybody has something to give and can use it a different way. So that's why we're here and do what we do, and why Omar has put this together for all of us to come together and do this, is because, yeah, we might be good at what we do, but there's always somebody better that can show you a trick that can make you do it just that much better.
And I'm going to wrap it up and leave you with this, John. A quote from the guy that separated, I believe, modern art from ancient art, and that's Pablo Picasso. And he said, good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Cheers. Salud.
Salud, huh? So listen, I just want to thank Omar and Bodie and Nat for having me here today. I hope I've been insightful to a certain degree. I know it's a very big and almost superfluous subject to cover, but I just think as in this industry, particularly in corporate AV, we don't take the blinders off sometimes. And I felt this would have been a valid exercise, and I really sincerely hope it has been.
Thank you very much for being here, Felix. I think some of the things we're just saying there were so impactful and really wrapped up a lot of the threads tonight, especially as we teased out ideas of the different people that you're working with on site. You know, you start and you're there for the client, but you also have all of these people that you're interacting with, all of the client's other sort of, assistants and other VIPs or minions that are running around, almost distracting you, but also influencing and giving other input into the show. And you have to balance all of that in the chain of command. You've also got all of your colleagues who you don't pick. You know, as a freelancer, I show up with a different crew of people. I know a lot of them from job after job, but you know, you're going to run into people that get on your nerves because they, you know, that maybe they're really like outspoken politically, or they are, you know, really into, you know, a certain kind of humor, or just, you know, have an annoying breathing on the microphone, or they chew gum, something like that. You know, but you find that the more you know, give these people the benefit of the doubt, you treat them as somebody who's there to help you, and you're there to help them, you're really going to have a very cooperative, fruitful sort of attitude and relationship. And then you kind of put aside that they're not there distracting you. You're not there, you know, I don't want to be represented by this person's work. It's not your show, right? At the end of the day, it's the client's show. It's the client's vision. You want them to have a good experience of their night. And if you think that, you know, well, this guy's camera work made me look like a bad video technician, is the client happy, right? Because it's not, you know, it doesn't really have your name on it per se. And you are branding yourself, but you're also in service.
And the best thing to do in that is, if you're not happy with what they did and you can give them some insight to better that, then what better opportunity than to say, hey, listen, instead of doing it this way, maybe we could try this and see how it works out next time. You know, I mean, it's all within the education. You see something. Again, I'm under the assumption, you can correct me if I'm wrong, if you're a switcher, you've done other things. So, because switcher to me, by what I see, seems to be like you start out as a video guy, you kind of move into video switching. So you've been there, you've done that. So when you look at it and you're saying, like you said, Nate, that your video angle made me look like crap. No. How about, hey, next time you pan out this way, let's move it this way. It'll probably give us a better feel. How do you feel about that? You know, something like that. So, I mean, that's just my perspective on things. My perspective is I give everybody the same respect, no matter who you are, what level you are, where you come from, who you are. Until you give me a reason not to trust you, then you're all mine. I'll go hand in fist, bat to bat for you.
Chris, I'm sorry to interrupt. Rhett Butler has a question. Why don't you unmute yourself, Rhett?
So I just wanted to say, I had the photos I wanted to go over for Felix here real quick, but before we get into those photos, we have a comment from AV Trainer. Felix, what do you most hope both clients and techs ask you, but often rarely hear, both in pre-production as well as on site? And I can repeat that again if you didn't hear me. I'm sorry, guys. I'm on Wi-Fi at a friend's house.
No, we heard you. That was fine.
Okay, cool.
Thank you for your attention to detail. That's pretty much what I hear that would be from both sides, the client and from the technician. Like this cue sheet, wow, I wasn't expecting a cue sheet now, this detail. The client, wow, we knocked out that drawing and your sketch and we're done with that and we're agreed. And now we can move on to considering client music walk-ons and fun things. You know, it's in this game, there's, without that level of detail, the show doesn't move forward. And that goes for everyone involved, which is, again, ironically why I wanted to talk about the big picture, so we can step away from all those minute details for a second. But ironically, at the end of the day, I'll answer it with, thank you for your attention to detail. Is probably what I hear most often from both sides, yes.
I like it. And then Felix, if we have time, if no one has any questions right now that are immediate, I know we got about 11 minutes left. There's some photos I have that I want to show to the audience about things that you've done, shows you've been on, and if we can kind of touch on them, if you think anything's relevant to our topics we talk about real quick. There's a couple in there that I want to talk about, obviously, that are personal to you and me, but if we don't get to those, that's fine. But I would love to show those if you're okay with that, and then have you kind of speak over them and give us a little synopsis of what the show is about, what happened, and then if we have time, we'll dive in a little bit and kind of talk about them. Does that sound good?
Go ahead, man. Yeah, this will be a blast from the past. I'm sure some of these.
So this would be the first one that you had sent me, and I'm sending a legit keynote, kind of how we run things with Samson ahead of the curve here. Any pros and cons to this one real quick that you had on this show that you could remember?
Oh, man. This is one of my first clients that I sealed up a 3-show contract with as a producer after I left my last production company. And I did one of them. The second show, the design was completely miscommunicated through the meeting planner. I'm not passing bucks here. It's just what happened. And by the third show, they were like, we're just going to use the local AV, don't worry about it, sort of thing. And it was like, it never really elevated to the point. But I remember this show well because the CEO was involved. It was well designed. It was well executed. But yeah, again, looking back on my little bumpy start to my company's existence was with Samsung. And again, nothing through the end client or just a communication error with the middleman, as it were, to that one. And, you know, we both agreed to go our separate ways after that. But it's fine. That was in San Antonio. That show in particular, actually, there was a huge snowstorm and delayed the entire company and pushed rehearsals and the whole thing back a day. And then weather came in. And, I've got lots of fun memories.
So it sounds like a lot of our shows where you know, shit hits the fan and you got to just adjust to it and make it happen. So, you know, thanks for that feedback. And if anybody has any comments about what he just said, please leave in the comments and we'll get to them. There's another show you and Mia did years ago with Glitz, I believe. And I wish I had the right photo for this, but we had did 3D mapping at this on the building here, which you kind of see in the background here. But as a technician in my younger career, when I was, you know, not in a lead position, but more of an assistant, we had shot these logos into the water and created this kind of effect out of your brainchild to just try something, made this really cool effect in the water that the client ended up loving. But there was also problems we had with the content that was created in the back end that I remember the client wasn't happy with the guy that we had hired to do it. So I don't know if you want to touch into that a little bit, but we had an amazing production side, in my opinion, as an assistant for the video team. But I also remember there's a little bit of a hiccup with the actual content created for the LED mapping of the 3D projection mapping of the building that the client wasn't super fantastic with, or maybe my memory's maybe it's not all there. So.
This was right at the advent of the technology where lots of people claimed they knew what they were doing and not so many people actually did. So, you know, we were showing designs and animations and videos. Oh, yeah, it's going to wrap right around the building and the windows, and some of the windows ended up off the window. And, you know, the client being a fashion label, they were like upset with certain frames that didn't quite match the building. But as a first attempt, again, with what you see in the water and the DJ, and it was a special event. It wasn't like a queued up corporate event. It had one animation which went for an hour. A minute 30 seconds. Most of it was impressive, but there was enough, like Omar said, there was enough content from a third-party designer in there that just didn't sync up with the actual building. And I was upset, the client was upset, but at the end of the day, and to bring to a point that I wanted to actually discuss was, so the doors are open, the video is going, the Red Hot Chili Peppers are playing. The banner in the corner has shifted an inch because of the air conditioning, and that's all the meeting planner can see right then and there. You need to get up there and fix that. I'm like, the doors are open. I don't have a 16-foot ladder, and even if I did, I'm not doing it right in the middle of the cocktail service. And what do? Let them have a second drink. No one will care. Sometimes you just got to stand back and go, literally it is what it is at this point. Despite all the efforts you've gone to ensure perfection, to ensure the client's super happy, the air conditioner's turned on and suddenly, which you didn't test or something, happens out of your control that suddenly you have to fix. And sometimes it's just plainly unfixable. And it's cringeworthy if that's all you can see. But like I said, I looked at the client in the eye and said, look around. The video's going off. The lighting's spectacular. I can't even hear the music. People are talking and so excited. Don't worry about it at this point, please. And sure enough, next day, oh, that was fantastic. Completely forgot about it. You know, so you've got to pick and choose your battles sometimes. And like, I hate the term, it is what it is, but sometimes it just is.
So I want to go over Bacardi here real quick, and I'm going to go over these 4 images before we talk about them too much. But as you guys can see, or you may be not even noticing it right now, this is all projection mapped. This was a set piece. This is another one of Felix's brainchilds where he created a minimal piece, and we brought in content, and we kind of perfected this a little bit more and created these amazing pieces based off of one set piece that was created and had multiple looks to them. that did multiple effects. So again, I'm gonna start from the top here. There's one more here. But
just leave it on that one, Omar. See,
okay.
Ultimately, this was a Bacardi full-scale, multiple product launch. What you see in the middle of the photo is a suspended, scenic circle disc, and that's hung, and people would walk out from either side of that underneath it. That's about a good 6-7 foot clearance there. So it's a pretty big set. This is at the Fontainebleau, which is one of the bigger Miami Beach hotels. And literally, we just treated these two big fabrics left and right as just massive video billboards. We did pictures. We covered them in content. And the coolest part was we actually added two cylinders, these two 20-foot cylinders to the side of the set, where the bottles would literally rotate and come up out of in 3D, which I don't have any video of, but those are the 4 shots from that show I got to take without the lead producer getting all crazy at us, like, what are you doing with our show? I'm like, just for our records, like you have to do. But this was never released, and I've never published these. These were not allowed to be published. But that was 3D mapping done right, and 4 20-hour days or something to get that done. It was nuts.
So I don't know if you want to talk about these too much. This looks like a trophy of you and the shows you've done.
Well, Sydney Olympics 2000, the Grammys, the Golden Globes, ton of corporate stuff, PlayStation Portable One. LA, I did a lot of corporate work for the film industry, Miramax. And after 3 years, I was done. It became Holly weird to me. And the opportunity to literally escape to Miami was taken. It was a great change of scenery. But I learned a lot, learned tons in Los Angeles. Moving ahead. Oh, yeah. Everyone remembers, when TEDx started doing their events with the foam core cutouts at the front downstage area. We did this once for Dell. And, you probably got the TED show that you were on too, Omar. If I remember, you're my video guy, my playback guy. And, you can bring up that TED. Yeah, that's the classic TEDx, downstage scenic. We introduced that to Dell. They never looked back. Every break, they took photos with these foam core cutouts and picked the letters up. And anyway, had a great time. Speaking of interesting, odd design, this room, we won this bid because I turned the room on its side and did a diamond-shaped kind of stage. It's like one of those long cathedral-type rooms where the sound always sucks no matter what you do to it. There's reflections all over the place no matter what you do. We twisted it on its side and gave it that TED feel. And this is like, what, I'm at 25 by 45 feet. This room was like a glorified breakout, but we made it look big,
Yeah, definitely. So Felix, we got less than a minute left. Anyone particularly you want to go over? I kind of want to go on this one because of the awesomeness of this show. So this was a show. I won't mention a client for many reasons, but this was the only show I've ever done in my life where I literally had. And again, I was literally a stagehand for a company at the time. I was doing audio. I got kicked out of the venue because I didn't realize that the artist was there. Very famous artist who passed away. Very good at what he did. The most impressive I've ever been with an artist in my whole career so far. I have a lot of love-hate for this scene, but what I want to emphasize here, and Felix, I'll let you do as well. If you guys don't notice it, these in the middle here with the metal here in the middle here, that is a floating DJ set that went up and down. There's also go-go dancers that went up and down in these floating cages. You can kind of see a woman in here and back in this other one here that they're dancing in this stage that had acrylic bottoms, and it moved up and down. It was a very impressive set. It was probably one of the most coolest things I'd seen in my career at the time. But a nightmare to load in, a nightmare to do. Just tons of, again, I was very, very new in the industry, so I don't know all the ins and outs. But on my version as a stagehand for this, doing audio as an assistant, I was constantly doing changes. I mean, like, hey, run this cable. I did a cable. Oh, that cable's wrong. We're going to run it this way now, and had to do like a whole new path of, I don't know, 200 feet, 300 feet, whatever it was in this airport hangar. Just a crazy show, but amazing end results. The production was fantastic. The show was fantastic. The performance was fantastic. Just crazy just to get in there and get it going. And I'm sure Felix knows way more about this from behind the scenes. And I'll let him kind of go into that a little bit, and then we'll end this. And
Yeah,
talk.
let's finish up with this behemoth. This is one of the first shows I sold with my new production company when I moved to Miami with Media Stage. And this is in a private jet hangar at the Opa-locka Airport. There were over 200 points on this thing. Multiple movers, a massive stage with wide projection screens and satellite screens at each end. Of course, in between each band, the DJ and the go-go dancers would move up and down and on top of the dance floor. So there was this like danger element too that was really kind of neat. And it was for a guy named Jeffrey Soper, who owns the Fountain Blue. He owns half of Opa-locka Airport. He's owns half of Vegas, him and his family. It was his 40th birthday party for like 300 of his best friends. KC and the Sunshine Band opened. And then there was 2 DJs from London in the Reed floating DJ booth. And then Prince performed at midnight. Full 2-hour set to like 200-300 people. An extraordinary gig. I was a fan, always have been a fan, so it was like a pleasure and an honor. I mean, I'll leave you with a moment where it was in his sound check the night before, 2 a.m, myself and 2 guys selling carpet were the only guys allowed in the whole hangar with Prince's sound engineer, this British guy, and his tour manager. And Prince came out with his little gun mic, the gold gun, had his hair wrapped in a blue turban, full blue suede kind of suit, looked like a complete badass, and rung out the whole room on his gun mic with the engineer. Walked from corner to corner, 4.2K, too much here, way too much. Yeah, bring that down. And then he asked the musicians to start playing baritone sax, way 2.5. It's just killing me, blah, blah, blah. And he's walking around this jet hangar, which is an impossible place to tune, and tuning it himself. And he had his own monitors on stage as well. And then to finish his sound check, he did I'm Not in Love by 10cc on a Telecaster with the band and the vocals. Thank you, good night. And I was in tears by the end. And the show hadn't even started yet. It was the next night. But that's how I kicked off my production life in Miami. And yeah, Omar and myself were on that gig. And it's probably one that's still talked about in Miami to this day. Because I think just about every other production company was involved in it. The riggers, the truss, we all ran out of lights, ran out of generators, ran out of freaking everything. So, but we made it work. So yeah, thanks for bringing up that nice memory, Omar. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a revolving of trucks. I mean, every time a truck would leave, another car would come, and there's more gear added and left and changed out. Just like it never was ending. And I remember there was some stuff on the back end that happened because she's like, oh, I didn't approve of this, or I approved of that, or I didn't do this, I didn't do. And it was just like, who can keep track of all this stuff? You changed literally every time a truck came, you changed what the end result was. But the end result was really magnificent. It was an amazing production, amazing show. Another one of Felix's just brainchilds that he just like it showed you at the beginning. They sketched it out. The client saw, they did it, and we made it happen. And he envisioned it, and he had almost the clearest of understanding of how it needed to happen. And he made us see it in that manner and made it executed it correctly. So again, I want to wrap it up. I know that we've gone a little bit overboard like always, but I want to thank especially Nate Angstrom for being here as our brainchild, as a special guest. I still messed it up. I'm so sorry. But thank you for being here so much, man, and taking up the role for Ed for us. Thank you for letting us do the little joke with
you are my client, Omar. Here. I serve you.
I gotta send him that bill for the sponsored drinks he's got going on here that I keep forgetting.
Yeah, you can bill Ed. Chris, that's good.
Thanks, Chris, for being here. Chris Patterson, thank you so much for being here, man. Honored to have you on the show with us.
Thank you, man.
Your reputation is supersedes yourself, so glad to have you. Dave, thanks so much for being here with us so much. Nick, man, thanks for coming in. I'm glad you're back in town and you're working and you're here with us. Jason, there, man, I can talk about you all day, bro. Thanks for being here like always, man. I appreciate it. Bodie, I'll let you close it off officially, or let you and Nate kind of wrap it up yourselves. I know you got something you want to say always.
Chris has got some DJ shit going on over here, but hey, it's all good. Thank you guys for being here. Again, like I said, this is the side of the industry that I don't think a lot of people get talks on or get talked about, is your client to interaction with your client or your PD, or how you handle a show or anything that goes on with a show. So the best way to handle everything is just like Felix said. I mean, thank you for coming on, Felix. Your insight and everything that you've done and produced and everything is amazing. Nat, like I always mess it up anyway. Thank you for co-hosting. I greatly appreciate it. I just got to remember you're a little bug in Florida that drives me freaking insane, and we'll be okay.
Ed. Where's Ed?
I know. So, but yes, but yeah, so I just want to thank you guys for all being here. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for all your insight that you brought in. I love your little demographic that you brought up about, fuck off. And then now is the time to actually get going. That's amazing because that is true to the story frame of how it goes. Dave, as always, thanks for being here. I know your pre-production and it taught me to better word my questions to people. Because things go a little differently. But again, guys, if any questions that were left unanswered, I'm sure Felix will go through and answer any questions that are in chat. We'll get them to him and we'll try to get answered best as we can. I saw a couple come through while you were going down memory lane there. But guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. Just remember, our next show is going to be a Sunday night show. Stay tuned to our channel here. I call it our channel. It is our channel, but the Facebook group. Stay tuned to the Facebook group for when we're going to go live. Omar, again, as always, as much as Ed is the brains behind the operation, if it wasn't for that man down there, and I have a little bit of bias in it, he's my brother. But if it wasn't for him, none of this would be possible without everything going on. So again, with that, I leave you guys with a do. Have a great night, and we'll